Phones with email, web, photos, and music are nothing new. So what would a phone have to do to amaze you?
So, this is the publicity video of the Palm Pre, released back in 2009, the first Palm device that runs WebOS. Yet the good old days of WebOS is gone, and acquisition after acquisition, now the brand is in the hands of TCL, the same manufacturer who also managed to keep BlackBerry alive, well, sort of. So, 10 years later, the iconic compact chassis is preserved, but inside is a new soul. I'm Andrew from Biaswork, and today we're going to take a look at the Palm phone. Is the new Palm phone worth the nostalgia? Stay tuned. First up, specs. Basically, it's got a tiny 3.3-inch 720p LCD display, Gorilla Glass at both front and back, and IP68 dust and water resistance. It's powered by an entry-level Snapdragon 435 with 3GB of RAM and 32GB of non-expandable storage, combined with a whopping 800 mAh battery, with the only port being USB Type-C with OTG support. Wi-Fi connectivity, though, is limited to 2.4 GHz only. The retail price is 2,988 Hong Kong dollars, or $350 US in the US. With this amount of money, you could have got yourself a poker phone or Sony XZ2 Compact, rocking a flagship Snapdragon 845. So, why the Palm? To find out, let's begin with a quick unboxing of the Palm phone. Sliding out the package, you're welcomed by, firstly, the phone itself. It's surprisingly tiny and surprisingly light, with little to none heft to it at all. Putting it aside, you'll find all this paperwork, and further beneath is the charging brick, which is a standard 5V 1A charger, and a Type-C cable, in addition to a pin for the SIM card tray. And that's it. Frankly, for $29.88, I was expecting a bit more than that. Right, getting your hands on the phone will immediately remind you the identity of this device, a device that keeps you off distractions such as Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, rather than a big chunky gaming beast as most phones are nowadays. It is easily manageable with a mere thumb, and as it can easily slip into your fittest jeans. The phone is of sheer minimalism given the classy sandwich design, with the only physical button being the power button to the right, with a satisfying tactile feedback and is pleasant to the touch. Below you'll find the SIM tray, and it's theoretically not available to users in the US since it's locked to Verizon there, but if you happen to live in other regions such as in Asia like me, it supports a single nano SIM which is switchable. It's not expandable with microSD though. On the upside, the SIM tray does have a rubber part to it, contributing to the water-resistant design, which is a nice touch. Also, you do get this live mode feature which blocks all calls and notifications when you're at vacation, and they'll pop up only when the device is unlocked. It may come in handy for some, but me, meh, not so much. Admittedly, you don't buy this chap for performance. Not at all. Rather than all those pointless and tutu benchmarks, let's dive into the actual user experience. Thanks to the well-optimized system, navigating through the phone feels responsive and snappy. The Snapdragon 435 is pretty much what appears to be present in smartwatches nowadays, and the custom UI on top of Android 8.1 Oreo does tell the familiarity of it. Light gaming such as Temple Run and Stack ran without any drop frames, and such games are frankly more playable with such a small and manageable form factor. Usually we talk about cameras on phones a lot, such as on the Huawei P30 Pro and Samsung S10, but on this one, don't set your expectations too high, or even better, don't have any expectations at all. Blurry shots are a common sight with the low aperture 12 megapixel shooter, and the photos are lacking of details. Video recording is limited at 1080p 30 frames per second, although you would probably not want to film anything productive with this camera. Multimedia experience is another story, which is surprisingly not bad. Ignoring the tiny display, it'll get you through a several-stop train ride, but it'll start to hurt your eye if you plan to do extensive multimedia consumption on it. The speaker on it is surprisingly loud and crisp too. Using it as a portable gymnasium speaker is probably not a bad idea. Since the phone hasn't got a physical volume button, you'll have to adjust it in the notification area, and frankly, it's a compromise that I can understand. What I couldn't understand though is with peripherals. You can't use a wired headphone on it in any way, and even with a Type-C to 3.5mm connector, both my Huawei and Sony dongles failed to work on this device. The only option left, presumably, is Bluetooth headphones. And by using Bluetooth, it leads up to an even bigger problem: battery life. Battery life is the largest hindrance to the usability of this phone, and this phone failed catastrophically at endurance. And yes, you buy this phone to keep yourself from using it regularly, but despite so, you can't make it through even half of a day. It lasts a mere 1 hour of screen on time on a single full charge, and standby overnight sucks about 20% of the juice. I wouldn't mind having the phone a tad bigger, a tad taller, and a tad thicker, just to stick in at least double the battery capacity inside. The battery life on this phone otherwise is absolutely abysmal. Literally, it's got the worst battery life I've ever seen on any device in my entire bloody life. And yes, conceptually, this is a great phone. Never have we seen such a compact phone rocking a full version of Android while remaining snappy and quick. Supposedly, this is a phone that could end up being one of the best backup phones to date. However, the absolutely abysmal battery life ruined it completely and made this phone an absolute headache to use. With the worst battery life in the world, it literally swung a sledgehammer at the facade. This is a great phone to show off, but it doesn't actually help to do much in terms of digital balance, and you're probably better off using the built-in feature in Android Pie if you simply want to use your phone less, minus the hassle.